"Mother!" cried the BFG. "Giants don't have mothers. Surely you is knowing that." "I did not know that," Sophie said. "Whoever heard of a woman giant?" shouted the BFG, waving the snozcumber around his head like a lasso. "There never was a woman giant, and there never will be one. Giants is always men." Sophie felt herself getting a little muddled. "In that case," she said, "how were you born?" "Giants isn't born," the BFG answered. "Giants appears and that's all there is to it. They simply appears the same way as the sun and the stars." "And when did you appear?" Sophie asked. "Now how on earth could I be knowing a thing like that?" said the BFG. "It was so long ago I couldn't count." "You mean you don't even know how old you are?" "No giants is knowing that," the BFG said. "All I is knowing about myself is that I is very old, and very, very old, and crumbly, perhaps as old as the earth." "What happens when a giant dies?" Sophie asked. "The giants is never dying," the BFG answered. "Sometimes and quite suddenly a giant is disappearing and nobody's ever knowing where he goes to. The mostly as giants is simply going on and on, like with the time twiddlers." The BFG was still holding the awesome snozcumber in his right hand, and now he put on one end into his mouth and bit off a huge hunk of it. He started crunching it up, and the noise he made was like the crunching of lumps of ice. "It's filthy," he spluttered, speaking with his mouth full and spraying large pieces of snozcumber like bolts in Sophie's direction. Sophie hopped around on the tabletop, ducking out of the way. "It's disgustingers," the BFG gurgled. "It's sickable. It's rotsome. It's maggot-wise. Try yourself this, full some snozcumber." "No, thank you," Sophie said, backing away. It's all you're going to be guzzling around here from now on, so you might as well get used to it," said the BFG. "Go on. You simply Snipesy little Winkle, have a go." Sophie took a small nibble. "Ah," she spluttered. "Oh no, oh gosh, oh help." She spat it out quickly. "It tastes of frog skins," she gasped. "And rotten fish. Worse than that," cried the BFG, roaring with laughter. "To me it is tasting of clock couches and slim wanglers." "Do we really have to eat it?" Sophie said. "Mm, you do, unless you is wanting to become so thin you will be disappearing into thin air," Sophie said. "A thick ear is something quite different." Once again that sad, winsome look came into the BFG's eyes. "Words," he said, "is oh such a tickling problem to me all my life, so you must simply try to be patient and stop squibbling as I am telling you before." "I know exactly what words I am wanting to say, but somehow or other they is always getting scuttled around." "That happens to everyone," Sophie said. "Not like it happens to me," the BFG said. I is speaking the most terrible English. I think you speak beautifully, Sophie said. You do? Cried the BFG, suddenly brightening. You really do? Simply beautifully, Sophie repeated. Well, that is the nice prettiest anybody is ever giving me in my whole life, cried the BFG. Are you sure you is not twiddling my leg? Of course not, Sophie said. I just love the way you talk. How wondercrumb, cried the BFG, still beaming. How whimsy splunkers. How absolutely squiffling. I is all of the stutter. Listen, Sophie said. We don't have to eat cumbers. In the fields around our village there are all sorts of lovely vegetables, like cauliflowers and carrots. Why don't you get some of those next time you go visiting? The BFG raised his great head proudly in the air. I is a very honorable giant, he said. I would rather me I would rather be chewing up rotten cumbers than snatching things from other people. You stole me, Sophie said. I did not steal you very much, said the BFG, smiling gently. After all, you is only a tiny little girl.